Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, I love places that, I can ride my bike to. I don't think we can find a place that has a better view than where we are today. We're down at the very base of Edgewood Road, which turns into Bembe Beach Road. And as soon as it hits the bay, that's where we are. We're here with Annapolis Sailing School and Ricky Nelson. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Does this location ever get old for you?
Only when it's about 105, it's humid out. But aside from that, always a great view, always good to be by the water. I spent maybe 2 months more than 10 miles away from the water in my life, and it's miserable. So it's good to always be within a few hundred feet of it.
Sounds like you're in your element. Ricky Nelson is the director of sailing here at Annapolis Sailing School, and I will say that the URL is very easy. It's annapolissailing.com. And this is one of the oldest businesses in town. You guys are at 65 years old, but have no intention of retiring. And you are much too young to have been on the Ozzie and Harriet show, so you are not that Ricky Nelson. We'll quash that rumor. And I believe it's only been under the ownership of 2 people, or maybe 3.
I think we're in the third round. So the last owners were the Dowlings. They purchased it from, I'm blanking on the name of the original owner, but somebody started the boot show.
Okay. Well, that's quite a legacy over 65 years for sure. And this all started back in 1959, right? Were you guys always here, do you know?
The sailing school, so its original main office was over on 6th Street, actually, Dutch farmhouse style home where they would teach all the classes there. And then they were doing boat rentals out of a little dock over here. And the school was actually started in order to teach people how to sail for the boat rentals, because they started a boat rental business. People didn't actually know how to sail if they didn't have access to a boat already. So okay, well, we need to teach them to sail in order to rent the boats.
Okay, well, that brings me to think. I want to talk about Annapolis Sailing School, because I was on your website, again, annapolissailing.com, and you're a lot more than just a sailing school.
Yes.
You had as I look out the window of this clubhouse, for lack of a better word, maybe that's what it is called, but, there is a fleet of boats here for you.
Yeah, so we have, classes for kids through our camp. We had our adult sailing classes, but then a big part of learning to sail is being able to continue sailing. And so a huge part of what we try to do is have a way for people to continue sailing and really get involved in the world outside of joining a $15,000 a year yacht club. So we have a club that gets people access to the boats, get them into races, get them into social activities within sailing, so that people can participate in the world of sailing and really get their toes in.
It's so strange that we've got this wonderful Chesapeake Bay and all the tributaries that are right here that surround us in Annapolis, and how many people don't have access to the water. So I think what you're saying is just very important. I talked with across the creek from you, the Annapolis Maritime Museum, and I know I've talked to them a dozen times where they always say that it amazes them that there are kids that live in Eastport that come for a field trip or whatever, and they have never seen the bed, which blows my mind. If you told me you lived out in Washington County or something like that, I would get that. But we don't have the access that we have. And certainly if you've got a love for sailing or a desire to learn to develop a love for sailing, this is a perfect way to do it, as you say, not to have a yacht club type of a membership. And I happen to notice here in the clubhouse, you've got cheese balls, and I guarantee you that they're knocked out. They probably don't have any of those in some of those fancy $15,000 a year yacht clubs.
What is even the point? And it is meant to be definitely a much more relaxed and fun way. for people to get access. And over the years, there have been a lot of attempts to create more public access to the water. I think every time they tended to fall apart just because there's well-meaning people and there are organized people, and oftentimes they're very different people. And so while we can't do it as a complete community service, we definitely try to make it in a way that is accessible.
Tell me about your boats. I mean, as I look out here, I mean, they're all numbered. There's number 18, 17, 16. They're all the same boats, right?
Oh, well, so the boats you're looking at right now are actually the Naval Academy's boats.
Okay.
So we host 4 bits here, college teams, for their sailing programs. So they keep their boats here. They do their practices off of here. Maryland hosts usually 2 regattas a year out of here. And Navy was doing a big renovation of their facilities. And lo and behold, we are the only facility that could take them. So they hosted 3 regattas out of here. And that's what all of those boats are right there.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your fleet then.
Sure. So our main fleet consists of the Rainbow 24s. Were actually commissioned for the school in the early 1960s. They were designed with the pitch, we need to get 6 drunks to the Bay Bridge and back again in a thunderstorm.
Is that the official thing? 6? I'm writing that down. Drunks to the Bay Bridge and back
in a thunderstorm. That is the story that's ever been told and always been told. At this point, if it's fiction or reality, it's enjoyable, so I'm sticking with it. But the main idea was they wanted something that was sturdy, stable, and simple, which coincidentally is what you also want for students who are likely going to crash into things. So they're not the fastest boats around, but when all you're sailing against is others of them, it feels really fast.
Well, I'll tell you, that sort of seems to be the way that Boston Whaler used to market themselves way back when they used to cut them in half and put people in and say, hey, it's unsinkable.
Yeah.
And, certainly, I mean, there are a lot of dangers out on the water. And I mean, we certainly know that with what just recently happened with the Key Bridge up in Baltimore, but, falling over and just with the more watercraft that's out there, certainly a safe boat, especially when you're learning, is absolutely critical. And you said these were commissioned for the school?
Yes.
So, I mean, you actually had them built for the school?
Yeah, so they were commissioned with Sparkman and Stevens, which is a major naval design firm, and they built them for the sailing school. The Naval Academy actually commissioned a version of them for their training boats for the midshipmen, and then they produce, I want to say, like 600 of them that kind of existed across the country, and most of the fleet that we have now is still floating from the 60s to the 70s.
That's wild. How many do you have in your fleet now?
So we have 12 in the water right now, and we probably have another 6 to 8 sitting on land in various states of repair or disrepair.
And as they come online, they go into the water.
Yeah.
Other types of boats, I mean, is this all you deal with? Is the Rainbow 24s?
No, so we the biggest boat in our fleet is a Jeanette 41 named Summer School. And then we have boats that are 37, 34, and 30 feet. So we're really trying to give people a full range of boats to learn on in size and also kind of functionality, because they could run into any sort of thing.
Well, I think that probably makes a lot of sense because, I've often heard that once you own a boat, and I've resisted this so far I'm a power boater. I had a 24-foot Sea Ray, and people said, oh yeah, your next step's a 32. And, then your next step will be 36 and then a 42, you know how it goes. But I imagine also with sailing, it's the same thing that, if I learn on a small 24-foot Rainbow that, if I'm looking to upgrade, the boat show rolls around, I want to, drop a check down there for something like, the Jeanette. It's nice to be able to have that, to be able to learn on that.
Yeah. And I will always encourage, first I'll encourage people not to buy it, but that fails, and I encourage them to learn how to use the boat before they get the boat. And with varying success of convincing people of that, oftentimes it's after they get the boat, and then they're like, oh, now I need to learn. All right, sure, we'll help you there. You actually see this jump in functionality in boats. It's basically every 5 feet or so, you get a new function, and that it's very compact and efficient, and they kind of just like let you spread out as you go up the next 4 or so feet. And they're like, great, now you get another head on your boat, or now you get an extra like seating area. But I tend to like something more in like the 35-foot range, unless I'm looking at boats that I can never possibly afford.
Okay.
Then I'm like, oh yeah, no, totally need a 120-foot boat. That's so necessary.
Yeah, we're talking about the Donnybrook, I think, right? I did Muldoon's.
I was looking at this one boat, giant flat deck, but if a boat has a flat deck, it means people are supposed to actually go around on it and do work on it, which makes me happy, as opposed to just touch future comforts. But then down below it had a fireplace and a pipe organ, and I'm like, that may be a bit too much.
Who plays a pipe organ?
Nobody plays a pipe organ.
Although maybe it needs it for like bridge tenders, you know? Sure. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. But I mean, you guys are all encompassing as far as teaching how to. I mean, you mentioned this. Okay, fine. You go out and buy a boat, which nobody recommends. Buy a boat. We'll figure out how to use it later. I mean, you don't do that with a computer.
The boat worker does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's just buy it, figure it out later.
Yeah, it's fine. Nothing bad.
Floats. You know how to drive a car. You're good.
Yeah.
Brakes work just the same way.
Yep.
You know, so you get an opportunity to really get a feel for what it's like to be on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And varying sizes. Okay, if you are considering that larger sailboat, you can do that. Now you offer classes from seamanship all the way up to getting out on the water and handling boats and everything else, and for all ages, right?
So pretty much all our classes will involve on the water from the very beginning. All classes will be about 1/3 theory and about 2/3 practical, because it definitely is something that you can't really understand all the theory until you're experiencing it for yourself. And so we'll break up the theory into manageable bites, let you see what we're talking about, come back and be like, hey, now that you actually understand what we're talking about, let's go back, we'll learn some more. The classes, they basically start on smaller boats and we work our way up, in part because, and I will say this to anybody who asks, but the smaller the boat you can learn on, the faster you will learn everything. Everything that you do is magnified in terms of its impact on the boat, and you can just much more rapidly take an action and see the result of it. If I could get adults to learn on little 12-foot, 14-foot lasers, I would have them do that. I have not managed to convince many adults that they should go on small boats, but
you know, that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, if you're going along in a little tiny boat, you've got less time to figure out how to do it. You've got less, I guess, risk to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to the bridge. I mean, you know, when that bridge collapsed, I mean, the initial report there was a boat hit the bridge, and I thought, little speedboat, oh, wow, that kind of stinks. Then we realized that, okay, this is a much larger boat than a little speedboat, and we obviously know what the ramifications were on that. So that makes sense for what you say. So what's a day like here and I mean, you're attracting kids, teens, adults, old adults.
I will say less. Teen is the one group we are light on. They go to the rebellious age then, but basically up until about 15, the camp is full. And then we get people early 20s after they get out of college and like, I finally got disposable income. Up, I think the oldest student I ever taught was 85. Fully bucket list. They were like, I want to do this. I want to have fun. We got them out and they learned to sail.
You know, that's the one thing about sailing, though, and any kind of water activity is similar to, well, actually, now with crab right next door to you, and the disabilities and abilities are really not even an impairment to it. I mean, it's something that can be enjoyed by everyone for truly a life. Yeah. Do you get into other boats in here? I mean, obviously, it's Annapolis Sailing School. Do we get into power boats or paddle boards or anything like that here? Or
powerboat instruction. And the big request we get there is docking. People are always scared about docking because, you get out in the water and the main thing people are thinking about on the water is, oh, it's like driving a car. They definitely should learn the rules better than they know them. But what stresses them out is when they come back and they got their shiny new boat and they're coming up and ultimately docking is crashing with style. And so you got to teach them how to do that.
You know, it's funny when I had my boat, and I will agree that docking was probably the most stressful aspect of it. Second to like when it broke down. Sure, but my ex-wife was and the kids, they all knew. I mean, because I'd be out alone a lot, and I had my routine. You come in, I knew what speed I needed to come into the slip. I knew exactly when to hit it into neutral, how much time I had to get to the bow to throw, to grab the line and get it onto the stern cleat. And they were like, first, can I help? Yes, sit down, shut up, and get out of my way. And I, I'll pat my own back, but I was pretty darn good at it. I mean, I would come up and I would glide up and just sort of boom off. And but it is definitely stressful, and it's especially when I know there's a lot of boaters are very judgy and they'll sit there and they'll watch you try to do it. That just adds to it. I've seen the videos on TikTok. So.
And you find out how good people can really be at it. There's a speed docking competition
over St. Michael's.
Yeah, and it's wild. They'll just come in at full speed and basically drift into the dock. Like when I say drift, I don't mean like a boat adrift. I mean like a car just sliding sideways to the water.
I just saw that one. There was a young girl that did it, that like won one of the things last summer. And she's coming in a workboat with the, with the helm and the midship.
Yeah.
And this boom, puts it in reverse and has to throw a ring over the piling, and
it's incredible.
That's really when the dogs jump in, and bird dogs. Also, they do some weird fun things out of there. Can I rent a boat here?
Yeah, I think you can rent a boat.
Right.
People can rent a boat.
Okay. And is that a membership type of a?
So members, part of their membership includes the rental of the boats. For everyone else, we require them to do a checkout sale. They should have the ASA 1 based sailboat level of certification or equivalent, but we get them out of the water 20 minutes or so. We can get a good sense of if they know what they're doing.
Or whether you're going to come back one boat short.
Yeah. And so we'll let them know then if they're good. And as long as people keep it up, if they, as long as they haven't gone 2 years up sailing with us, they're fine on that. Because again, these boats are pretty tough. There's not too much you can do to mess them up. So we are pretty trusting of people with them. And we want people to have fun. We want people to enjoy being out in the water.
And obviously that's on an availability basis based on your classes and everything else. Are your classes mostly during the week?
So we run classes weekdays and weekends. It's probably 60% on the weekend, 40% on the weekdays.
Okay.
Although our summer camps definitely skew that in favor of weekdays because they run Monday through Fridays.
Kind of a lot of people ask about summer camps. What ages are you looking at for summer camps?
But we take kids from 5 up to 16 for the summer camps. And all of our beginner camps for at least the younger kids have instructors in the boats with them. There's a whole bunch of sailing camps in the area. I went to SSA as a kid. Great for creating competitive sailors. Get you an opti. All your mistakes are your own. But for a lot of parents, putting their kids out of the water is a little nerve-wracking. And so we ensure they have an instructor with them who's making sure that they're safe, they're having fun, and that they're learning.
True, I could see that could be stressful. Sometimes I'd like to put my own kids out on a boat without an instructor and just sort of cast them off. No sail, and let them go. But that's between me and my kids. How did you get into sailing? I mean, you said you grew up always sort of near the water, and you just mentioned Separate Sailing Association.
I grew up sailing though. I would probably start in camp at 6 sailing. I was told I had to do it until I liked it. So about 3 years later, I'm like, oh, I like
the old way of raising.
I'll keep doing it at this point. And I don't think I actually drove a powerboat till I was in college. Now I'm much better at it. Powerboats definitely have their place. I enjoy tubing. If I want to go somewhere on the water,
Right.
I prefer a powerboat. But if I want to just be on the water, it's still sailing for fun.
It's an interesting analogy. I never thought about that. If you want to go someplace, you have a powerboat. If you want to be someplace, you have a sailboat.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What type of sailing do you do? I mean, did you get into the competitive sailing and the racing, or is it just pretty much cruising, leisure, just leisurely?
I can competitively sail. I've done it a number of times, but I never had the morning person attitude enough to really get up at 5 a.m., go for regattas. So I've done more Wednesday night races, beer can race at Annapolis. Usually when I go out sailing for fun now, it is just with a bunch of friends, right as the evening's cooling down in the summer, and just having a good time.
Let's go out for a couple hours and come back when the sun sets.
Yeah.
What types of boats do you sail? I mean, obviously, I know you can sail pretty much anything, but I mean, if you're going out for that sunset sail and just with the friends and then a six-pack of beer, what are you picking up?
If it's good wind and I'm just with one or two friends, I'll take out a Rainbow. I like the smaller boats more than I like the bigger boats typically. If I've got more people, I'll go out in the big boat. But there's just a different kind of feel for what you're doing. The smaller the boat is, the more it feels like a sport, like an activity that you're doing. And the more size that boat has, the more it feels like you're basically on a house and you're just hanging out in the porch.
Here's a question. You said you had, 41. I mean, that's a fairly big boat.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be something that you could take out with a whole bunch of friends and have a good time. Do you offer like chartered day sails or anything like that? I mean, if I wanted, and I mean, okay, I'm not a sailor, and I don't particularly want to sail. Is that something that you guys could do?
So the only advertised cruise we do is evening sails, which we'll do, it's like 5 p.m. For 2.5 hours or so. Give you a cheese board and you're allowed to bring drinks. If people request a private instruction and they say, yeah, we don't really want to do anything, and they bring their own cheese board,
We can weigh something out.
yeah, please show us what a captain will do if we were going to sit around and do nothing all day. That is technically only a private instruction you can do.
We can do that. Well, so then you've got the private instruction as well. So just the way you look at it there.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful hunk of land here. Arguably the most beautiful hunk of land in Annapolis. As you stand out at your point, you can look out at the bay. You can see the Bay Bridge. You can see, you can see Thomas Point from the beach as well if you squint a little bit. And,
it's hard because Tolly Point is poking out right there.
Right.
But I think you can, depending on your...
I think you can as well. I mean, you've got the wildlife that's down here. You've got a beach.
Yeah.
But what else goes on here? I mean, do you rent is this facility for rent? I mean, this is a great little room here
So we do rent out for events, weddings, done some crab feast for people. There's one great...
I know John O'Leary did a concert here a couple of years ago.
Yes, he did. So we do rent out for events. We've got a big 40 by 80 tent that, gives a good space for hosting people. We personally have, dozen big picnic tables, which are more for the crab feast than for the wedding vibe. But a lot of people put on beautiful events here. When the weather works for it, it's about the best you could do.
Well, you've got a good breeze coming in all of three sides. I mean, you're right on a point of land coming in Back Creek and
this what's the out to the suburb out here.
And again, this is, you just go Edgewood Road, which is down off of Bay Ridge Road. Take a left onto Edgewood if you're heading toward Bay Ridge, the community. I think Bay Ridge is around here. But you go to the Bay Ridge and you take a left and just take it to the dead end. When you get to the gravel road, start to slow down, and if get to the bay, back up a little bit and park because you find too far. So, but I mean, the facility is available for rent. Is it just like the tented area? I mean, could I rent this room for a?
So for weddings, people can rent this as an extra for like a prep room for bridal parties, what they usually use it for. But we do have it available.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. You're really using the land really well. They do come down here. I remember my daughter, the one year where the polar bear plunge was canceled at the very last minute because it was really bad wind and ice and stuff like that. And they were encouraging people just to do it at home, maybe like put some ice cubes in a bathtub and take a picture. My daughter and her girlfriend came down here. We illegally trespassed, went down to the beach, and I remember they went in up to about their waists, and when they came out, their legs were all, I wouldn't say bleeding, but little droplets of blood because the water was essentially like the Slurpee machine at 7-Eleven. It was just slush, and the waves were coming in, and you didn't realize it. I mean, it stung like it was cold. But then we're going home. Oh my gosh.
I'd been in this water in March, and that was bad enough. I
could not do it. But just a spectacular location. If anybody has any gumption of hosting an event or getting married, this would be one of the top destinations in the area to look to do it. And it amazes me what somebody can do with a tent and chairs and, put some of these caterers and event producers can transform a cow pasture into
beautiful.
Who's your customer? Who is here? Who comes here more often than anything? Is it the older people looking to sail the 20 plus, or is it the?
It's either people who are, getting closer to retiring age and want something fun to do, or it's younger people with indoor jobs and they want to get out. I had one person who worked for NSA in a skiff, secure room. So he was underground all day, every day, took lessons here, came here literally every day he could after he got the lessons, and he wanted to be outside.
And spends his day like a mole. Spends his afternoons and evenings out as much as outside as it possibly can.
Yep.
No walls out on the bay.
No.
All the information is in AnnapolisSailing.com, and Ricky Nelson is here to be able to answer any of the questions that you have. But so much is offered. We've got the kids camps, we've got individual instruction, we've got classroom and on-water instruction. As a member, you have access to renting these boats when you need to. If you work for NSA and working a hole in the day, you can come here, out in the thing. It's quite a resource that we have here. And especially when it's, not everybody can live on the water, it's a good option to be able to come down. Again, I biked down here, made it real easy to be able to do that. And, thank you for serving the community since 1959. Looking forward, we'll see what the next 65 years holds. Do you have any plans for the future? Are you anything? I know you got that big pile of sand, so you're expanding the beach, but.
So in terms of working on it, so that sand was actually from our haul out slip. We had to dig it out to make it functional. We are looking to protect the beach out there because Bembe Beach as a whole has been eroding itself away. So we're trying to protect it and preserve it for the long run. We are doing our first flotilla with students that we've done ever. So we're organizing a trip down to BBI for our students to sign up for next winter.
How does that work? You're not taking these boats down to the BBI?
Nope. So we're chartering boats. We're sending captains down there though. So the people had some peace of mind with who's in charge of the boat. And it's just gonna be kind of a good group of people in a beautiful location.
So the flotilla, so how many, you're going to take a whole bunch of people who fly down to the BVI, get on their boats, and what's that, a week-long thing, or is it?
Yep, so it'll be a week-long trip. We're going to do kind of 2 back-to-back sessions. Some people down there will have all their certifications and are just there to have fun. We'll also have folks that are going to be teaching people at least the bareboat cruising certification. We do want people to come with the basic coastal cruising, simply because a big part of that one, and something we make sure to do, is tons of docking practice. And when you're on a trip and you spend most nights at anchor, they just wouldn't get the practice that they really should for that certification.
And I mean, the BVI is just a wonderful place for those that have not been. I mean, there's so many, there's different islands. I mean, you're going to be exploring, I'm sure you're going to be exploring different ports and different coves and everything else. And that'll be a wonderful time. Is that the first time you've done something like this?
It's the first time we've hosted, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's in the winter of 25.
Correct.
Winter into spring of 25, I guess.
Yeah.
And that information is all available, again, at AnnapolisSailing.com.
Yes.
And there's something here for everybody.
We hope so.
From cheese balls to cheese trays.
Oh my God, we know where your heart is.
I know, I'm sitting there eyeing up, it's crying my name. So, Ricky, thank you so much for your time. And again, thanks for your, what you're doing for the community and, giving a business and a service to be able to let people get out and enjoy the Chesapeake Bay, which is really such a underappreciated asset that we have here. And I mean, I think where we live, we always take it for granted. And I don't think you should. I mean, we've got the bay, the ecology and everything else that goes with it, I think. And you guys are doing all the good work to get people out there and to enjoy it and experience it as well. But thanks so much.
Happy to help.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.